Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. สวัสดีค่ะ It's now my pleasure to welcome you to the seminar under the topic of Navigating the Global Electronics Landscape. This seminar is a part of Thailand Electronics Circuit Asia 2024 or THECA, which is the event of manufacturing and solution of PCB and PCBA, hosted by Thailand Board of Investment, BOI, organized by Thailand Printed Circuit Association, THPCA, and co-organized by Hong Kong Printed Circuit Association, HKPTCA, under the theme of Empowering Local PCB, Strengthening Supply Chains, Fostering Growth. First, may I invite Mr. Savek Prakit Rithanon, Vice President of Thailand Printed Circuit Association, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your valuable time to attend this session. As part of THPCA, we have been supporting World Electric Circuit members, which have 8 associations worldwide in the past 6 to 7 years. And with this movement is we have been communicating with many of global networks. We have been listening a lot of advices, a lot of information. Also a lot of good data from history development in different countries in electronic supply chain. With this movement, is such a fast movement in the past 24 months. We have engaged with pristine Prismark report, Dr. Chiang, to give us today a special report on how we should navigating this complicated and getting more sophisticated landscape of electronic supply chain, in which can be very competitive, can be very cost competitive. There are many factors that Thailand need to consider to have successful but sustainable electronic supply chain here in Thailand towards global communities and global industries. So. With this report, we hopefully, many of our government bodies, also stakeholders, can consider lesson learned and also propositioning that been analyzed and derived from thorough interview and communication with global members, and also a lot of statistical data. Thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Chiang.
Thank you very much. So it's time to start the seminar. Mr. Chiang, please.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's really my pleasure to be here, especially when THPCA asked me to take a look of the complicated electronic industry. And also, we all understand the whole electronic universe are going through tremendous change. The change in application, the change in the player, and more importantly, there is a significant change in the geographic migration. Similar to around 22 years ago, 24 years ago, I joined Prismark in 1998. I saw the tremendous development in China. And today, I'm standing here in Bangkok. I saw a very similar thing. I saw a lot of people, carry their dream. I saw a lot of young people with a tremendous energy. We try to understand, what is the electronic industry is really going to become, and how can we make a success. Not only success for a few years, but I think more importantly, we wanted to develop, a strategy which can be sustainable. And we wanted to have the PCB industry to develop very deep root in Thailand. So today, I just wanted to walk with you through a couple important points about the electronic industry. Then we're focusing on the PCB industry and try to answer a few questions. Why Thailand? Why PCB? why the integration of the PCB in Thailand can possibly make a change to the manufacturing industry in Thailand, to the whole landscape of the PCB industry, and also can continue to sustain the growth of the industry and also the economy in Thailand. So let's take a look at the electronic industry. That is really the driver of the semiconductor industry, the driver of the PCB, the driver of the assembly industry. But if you're looking back over the past 20, 40 years, then you see that, the electronic industry goes through many changes. And these changes, is because of different applications. And remember, in the electronic industry, the success first critical factor is you have to, follow the development trend. In the early days with the PC, all the companies participate in the PC, they make a huge growth. Then followed by that would be the smartphone. And then we saw the change to cloud, and then we had the COVID. And after the COVID, we are standing today. And every time when there is a major economic change, then there's a new wave. This new wave after year 2000 was the dot-com crash. Then we saw the whole transition to China, and then followed by the financial crisis, we saw the smartphone. And today, I think from all the news you have read, we recognize the industry, in the electronic industry, the most critical part is AI. And then followed by the automotive. Okay, so how can you build three elements? The AI, the automotive, and Thailand together. And when you try to build that together, that is the future success of the next 20 years. And in the electronic industry, especially over the past 5 years, then we saw the COVID. COVID caused a tremendous change. Initially, because of the COVID causing a strong demand of the computer, and then because of the logistic issue, oversupply issue, inventory issue, then we have the contract in 22 and 23. And now, especially in the late 22 when the ChatGPT came out, and then last year when NVIDIA delivered tremendous growth, that really marked the start of the AI industry. For the next few years, even today, when you're looking at all the PCB companies' sales, the Q1 and Q2 sales, you can see a huge difference. Some of the successful ones, when they providing the PCB for the AI server, providing for the high-speed networking, the revenue growth can be 40% or 50%. For some of them, they can be dropped, like minus 30, such as packaging substrate. So in the electronic industry, the number one thing that you need to recognize is you have to follow the development trend, okay? And you have to follow the strong growth segment. And we do a lot of market study, okay? And we analyze the PC market, we're looking at the smartphone market, we look at the server market, we're looking at the military. So forget about all those numbers. In 22, 23, the electronics market was about $2.4 trillion. And in 2024, this year, we anticipate a growth. But the highest growth we're coming from here, the server market. What is the server market? Especially that including the AI server. The AI server is starting from the NVIDIA's chip, then go to the graphic module, and then with the AI server. Why they grow so strong? Because companies like Google, companies like Amazon, like Apple, like Tesla, they are investing billions and trillions of dollars for this to improve their processing power, calculation power, and the data transmission. That is create a lot of the learning model, language model, improve the productivity. This is going to drive not only this year, but also the future growth. Why this is important? Because a lot of those leading companies in AI, when they buy the printed circuit board, a lot of them are asking the board produced outside China. And Thailand become very important choice. And that is the linkage. So you have to accommodate the investment, develop the technology, produce the board for the AI system. And then you're going to follow 20%, 30% growth for the next 3 years. And you want to make sure they are successful. And then they can be more sustainable. In addition to that, then we also see that automotive is very strong growth. And this is because we are in the transition mode from combustion engine to EV, to have a battery-powered automotive, have autonomous driving with a lot of ADAS sensor. All this is going to increase the printed circuit board content. Thailand is one of the major automotive manufacturing sites in Southeast Asia. And I was reading the ChatGPT, got over 2 million cars production every year. Every car will need a PCB in there. On average, it's $100, $150. Okay, all this board is going to be produced in Thailand, hopefully. And then with this transition, you're going to see the technology going to change. And again, this is a very important driver. And again, Thailand actually plays a very important part of this industry. So that is, again, from the application to the Thailand and with the PCB linkage. When we talk about strategy, when we talk about the growth, the number one thing is you need to focus. You have to focus on the application which delivers the strong growth. And then you concentrate your effort to grow that business. And in here, and the printed circuit board actually is one key component of that. In the whole industry, certainly including so many different things, $2.5 trillion, that including everything. Now, when you're looking at the value composition, then printed circuit board is offering the interconnect of the different components. A lot of people are looking at the semiconductor. That is really sexy because that's a very big size. But you got to remember, this industry is super competitive. And a lot of, the technology and investment requirement. And here, interconnect actually allowing, a lot of the company, especially from the private enterprise, with the median technology investment level to really penetrate. And also, this industry will create much more jobs than the semiconductor industry is doing. Okay, give you one example. TSMC, the most successful foundry company, they have less than 80,000 employees. And we have 2,500 PCB shops around the world. The top 3 companies, Zhending, Unimicron, Dongsan, Precision, just these 3 companies, they have more employees than TSMC has. Okay, so from the job creation point of view, this is also very, very important. And also that is the key element to connect with every one of them. Okay, and the electronic industry, including many different things. Printed circuit board is not the highest value one, okay, about the 3% of the total value, but this is a customized product. This product actually offering the interconnect with many different things. This is a product has a very strong tie to the end customer and also with the board assembly. So even though this is not very high value, but everybody recognizes this is a very crucial element. And all the end customer, we talk to so many of them. Apple calling us, NVIDIA calling us, Cisco calling us. They try to understand what is the supply chain looks like. And all the recent discussion, one key question is how it's going of this, movement from China to Southeast Asia. What is the development of all this construction going on? Are they really ready? And can they really handle the volume and the technology what we need? Okay, and that is really the key question all the end customers are asking for today. Over the past 20 years, especially after 2001, the whole electronic industry has one major thing. And the major thing was after China joined WTO, everything moved to China. So China from very little, 3%, 5% of the world, and become over 50%. A lot of things actually happen. A lot of the investment goes to China, a lot of production progress in China, and that actually ended today is about half of the global production in China. However, I think the overall global situation is changing, and then we see that is emerging, power or emerging manufacturing side is coming up, and that is where the Southeast Asia is attracting a lot of attention, okay? And this is a board assembly. So in this system, okay, there are so many different levels. You're making the PCB, and then you're putting all the semiconductor multi-layer component on. Then you put in the board assembly, then go to the system. And today, we see that, China actually is account for about the 50%, starting from very, very low, about the 7% back in 2000. So in 20 years or 23 years, we see this a huge growth. That is something that Thailand can learn and should learn. How do you do it? Right? If the whole electronic industry is $2.4 trillion, if half of the box or the board, or not even talk about half, even 20% of that can be produced in Thailand, what is the impact to the manufacturing industry? How many people can be employed? How much activities we're going to generate? Now, that is actually something that we really need to think. And when you're looking at the electronic industry today, okay, different from 20 years ago. 20 years ago, everybody jumped to China. Why did they go there? Because of a low manufacturing cost. This is a supply side push because China is cheaper. The labor is cheaper. They have a lot of labor, electricity, land, water, plus government support. And more important thing I want to say here is when people, they invested in China initially, when I visited them, back in 98, year 2000, a lot of the PCB company, they go there, they were uncertain. They were afraid. They don't know what's going to happen. But after their initial run, they saw their operation can make money. Then the second wave started. Then we see a lot of local enterprise participating. Then we see the government continue to support it. And then the whole thing just continue rolling until today. In the PCB, just like the assembly, they start from 8% back 20 years ago and become 50% of it today. Last month, I was in China. I was visiting a small county. I met with the government officer and I tried to understand. I said, how did you guys attract so much investment here? How did they do that? And why do they come here? And the reason is very simple, is because they try to offer everything they can to make their progress, building the plan, set up the facility, attracting the labor force, attracting engineer, much easier and convenient. And also offer much more service in the land and also financial, backing up the loan and doing everything they can, okay, in very short time, very fast, and even they have the government officers sitting in the plant, helping them to solve all the problems related to electricity, related to water, related to the building, related to school, related to the employee, everything, just right there. This is called the service. And that makes those companies make money. So 20 years ago, they did that, and until today, they still do that to attract people. But the world is different. The world today, especially what we see is, because of geopolitical tension, we all recognize that. The decoupling between the China and the US is create a different world. Today, you can call it globalization, or you can call it decentralized, but more importantly, there are two separate supply chains shaping up. One is inside China, the other one outside China. Inside China, they try to develop very independent supply chain for semiconductor, for printed circuit board, for server, for cell phone, and for many things, even the semiconductor manufacturing equipment. But outside China in the printed circuit board, who is going to lead the printed circuit board development in the next 20 years? We know today 50% is in China, right? Now, a lot of demand actually is outside China. Okay, a lot of demand is coming from the US, from Europe. Then who is going to be the supplier? Who are going to make the printed circuit board for those US companies, for European companies, under the tariff, under the tension, under their future demand? Who is going to be there? Thailand has the possibility. You have the potential if you do it right. But you can also screw it up. But if you do it right, if the company, they're coming over, bring the customer, bring the capital, bring technology, they set up here, surrounding the Bangkok, or going to your East Coast area. With over $10 billion or $5 billion, in future $10 billion, you can really grow in your position and become very important part, at least, of this outside the separate supply chain. And that's what your opportunity, and that's what you can do. Now, a lot of people ask me to talk about semiconductor. I try to answer some question about semiconductor. This, as I said, this is a very sexy business because a lot of people think this is a high tech, this industry attract a lot of funding, this is a lot of foreign investment. True. They also go through a lot of development and also high growth. But the same thing, the semiconductor is also follow, the same application. Today, who is growing the fast? The fastest one is NVIDIA. That is the AI. Okay, no question about it. Everything goes to the end application. End application drive the PCB, also drive the semiconductor. And in the semiconductor supply chain, you have the foundry, you have the assembly, you have the design. That is highly concentrated. Okay, not everybody can do it. Semiconductor required very heavy capital, so they only grow limited number of companies. In logic, only one today, that's called TSMC. In memory, only 3, that's it. Printed circuit board, you're allowed to grow hundreds of companies. So everybody get a chance. But in semiconductor, it's very different. And here you can also see that, in the semiconductor, highly concentrating in a few countries. Okay, in manufacturing side, you got Taiwan, you got Korea, you got China, US, Europe is shrinking, but many of the US companies still holding very strong position. Okay, what does that really mean? This company from the US, from Europe, from Korea, they either produce locally or they try to go somewhere else, actually, they can really trust. And that's why, recently you see a lot of investment actually going back offshore, onshore, going back to the US. US has called the CHIP Act. Over $50 billion from the government invested in the semiconductor. Only goes to 4. Intel, TSMC, Samsung, Micron. Each one of them, they'll get $10, $15 billion. Investment scale of the semiconductor is huge, huge, Only the government, a couple we listed here, is over $200 billion. If you want to put a $5 billion, $10 billion, you don't even bother. You're not even a player. You cannot do it. This will take years of accumulation of the technology, know-how, heavy capital investment. Even with that, doesn't really guarantee success. Now, some people say, hey, forget about the front end. Maybe we can try to work on the back end. Malaysia actually is attracting some funding in this area. However, we have to remember, a lot of the people like Intel, AMD, Infineon, STMicro were already there for probably 20 years. I think for Thailand, when you're thinking about the semiconductor, there's a different route for you to penetrate. That is from PCB to substrate, then to the semiconductor. That's probably what you can do. And actually, I think there are some people interested to come into Thailand for substrate, for production outside China and Taiwan, making the substrate here and for next step for the semiconductor assembly. Are they going to do it or not? It really depends on their first phase 1 PCB investment. Company like Unimicron, like Zhending, or like those guys, they're very possible to invest. But if their PCB operation is not making money, they're not going to do the substrate. But if you can make it success from the phase one, enter into the substrate, then you can further extend it into the assembly. Then actually that is really the best way, especially today in the semiconductor industry, packaging become very, very crucial, okay? And that is the easy way for you to penetrate. So let's spend a few minutes talk about the PCB. What is printed circuit board? As you know, that a lot of people here are expert. I don't want to put too much. This actually, we talk about the including multiple product. When I say multiple product, means the product use a different technology or a different material. The easy way to recognize a different layer count. Some of them single side, double side. Some of them have a more multiple layer. They use for many different applications, okay? But if you're looking at for AI server, that's what our focus. Automotive, a lot of the rigid board. KCE is making a lot of that, okay? And a lot of your newcomer to Thailand are making this. They are making the server board. They are making the HDI board. They are making, the commodity board. Everything is centered around try to serve AI or automotive. You also already have a couple of people like Nippon Macron and Fujikura here making the FPC. So in Thailand, you already got quite a few of them. And I think except this one, that is the packaging substrate. But once you're doing here right, then that's the possibility you can go there, okay, for this Intel or for AMD, for other guys. Now, the printed circuit board industry, as we know that they goes ups and downs, okay? And this industry actually has gone through a lot of changes. We just passed year 2023. That was a terrible year. And last year, the market dropped more than 15%. This year, until now, we see is gradually recovering, okay? So the industry actually is gradually recovering. Everybody is looking for direction. So what is the direction of the next growth? Now we come back again. Come back to the AI, come back to automotive, come back to the high-speed networking. That actually will become the leading application driver for the market, okay? And we're also starting to see that, the AI edge device, okay, is also starting to show up. Now, if we are looking at the PCB by application, I think the most important one that we colored here is try to looking at a few application side. And I think, one thing which is great, especially when we meet today talking about, the PCB in Thailand here is a lot of people, they have invested in Thailand today. Their major focus is working on this high-speed growth one, okay? Is in the server side, in the high-speed networking side, and also the automotive side. And this is really the good news, okay? Because they are going to participate. They're using the best technology, the most automated processing, and working on the high-growth segment. And this is, the overall market growth from the AI server, okay? And in the AI side, okay, there's a lot of, layer. Starting from NVIDIA's GPU, then you go through the module, then you have the board assembly, then you have the box assembly, then you go to the end customer. What we need to understand today in Thailand is we try to figure it out. What are the PCB used in the AI server, right? I wanted to attract all the people, they are the leading supplier in the AI server to settle in Thailand. And the second thing is, once those PCB guys are coming in, this is not the end of the game. You also wanted to working with the people and try to attract them to settle their board assembly or module assembly in Thailand also. So allow you to extend your industry depth, not just one board, but also, into the assembly. That is helping you two things. Number one is not only in your job market, but also the foreign investment and also in the export value. Okay, and the layered structure is the same for everything. Now, this company's name you need to remember. These are the company that actually you needed to spend your effort to attract them, okay, to come in and settle here. Now, for the PCB in the AI server, okay, there are three things. First one is, of course, the substrate, which today is mostly produced by Iberton and Unimicron in Japan and Taiwan. I don't think Thailand can touch on that shortly. But you have the opportunity to have here. This is, the first level. They call it OAM board. Or is the HDI board, is a high layer count board, and then the main board is a high layer count. Okay. Now, both of this, who are the leading guys? Woos is here, Unimicron's here. They all are settling in Bangkok today. They are building their plant. In 2 years, they are going to produce the board, and you want to make sure they are making the board for this area. And then if you can continue to attract people like Foxconn, Quanta, Wintec come over, then you're building a clustering. You're building a closed system, and they are participate in this high growth segment. Okay, you want to make sure that the people, the leading player, are participating. You want to make sure that you give them the right support. Another one is automotive. Automotive, as you know, is also growing and also going through the change. But remember, this is the change from combustion engine to battery-powered EV. And the second thing is, autonomous driving. And the third thing is, with all this ADAS, feature. And this industry actually has a multi-layered structure, And you have your PCB here, you go to the module supplier, and this is the ADAS, this is the, electrification, then go to the end customer. There are many people actually participate in this, and again, we see a lot of the leading automotive PCB company are also in Thailand or setting up here, including KCE. You got CMK, you also get, others. So this is really the great news, because those two segments, what we discussed, in the AI and automotive, they are actually the high growth segment. Now, one thing that you have to remember, when you are following, the application, you also need to understand what are the board, is needed. I always say that in PCB industry, for any company or any country, you need to look at the 5 different things. Number 1, the application. Number 2, the customer. Number 3, technology. Number 4, you needed to have the, production capacity. Number 5, you need money. All the 5 factors integrate together, they can build a story of success. Now, to answer the need of AI and automotive, so these are some of the board application or board technology you need to address, To address in this one, initially you can depend on, the engineer or material supply or equipment supply from overseas. But I think the more importantly is in Thailand, you need to grow your local talents. You needed to have your school, your college, your university, your graduate school to grow this kind of technical capability. Then you can have a root. Then you can have a more sustainability. So with all this help, then you're going to try to build, this kind of a 3-dimensional growth. And past 20 years, we know the history, we know the story, and that is one thing, go to China. Today, out of China, When you're out of China, so what PCB will be out of China? Not everything. Because as we know that, everybody here understands, manufacturing in Thailand as of today, hopefully it's not in the future, as of today, making the circuit board in Thailand is more expensive than China by around 15%. But some of the product they really want to get out based on a lot of the OEM. This is a hypothetical line. They say, we are too much relying on China because in the computer, 70-80% just rely on China alone. If you put a Taiwan here, then probably 90%. Then you have close to 60% of the PCB for mobile phones here, and then over 70% for communication. Server, that is related to AI. Wired infrastructure, that is related to the high-speed networking. Automotive, as we highlight. And all this area, many of the end customers, they are hoping they can reduce their reliance on China. They can rely more on the separate parallel production line. outside China. That's where you can play. Okay, and so if you just think about this, you say you take off this and move to somewhere else. That's exactly the reason that people are moving out of China and settle to somewhere else. But when people are looking outside China, there are so many choices. People can look at Mexico, they can look at India, they can look at Thailand, of course, but also Malaysia, Vietnam, and everywhere, right? There are so many different countries, okay? Of course, no single one can replace China. No single one, because China has a huge population, and a very strong GDP. And today, actually, they have established infrastructure. But when you are comparing, all the different possibilities here, including Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, India, Mexico, each one of them, they show different characters. Okay, and we actually did a lot of research and try to understand. In Mexico, a lot of assembly goes there, but they don't have enough water and the infrastructure support. India, they try to do it, but way too early. And Vietnam actually has a lot of your Korean companies settled there, but all the new investment actually goes either in Thailand or some of them in Malaysia. Malaysia, as of today, Monday I was just there. Okay, a lot actually is related to the substrate semiconductor packaging. But in the PCB-related area, Malaysia is attracting more investment than anybody else. Now, when people are choosing the different site, either Thailand or Malaysia or Vietnam or India, they're all looking at several things: the land, the water, the electricity, the human resources, and also infrastructure support. Okay, and then after the overall consideration, I think Thailand really stand out, because in some countries, the water stress is very high. For example, like Mexico, and electricity supply. I think some people in Thailand, they talk about the electricity cost actually is increasing. I think that's something that you need to pay attention to. And the other one also is motivate people to come over here is the tariff. Okay, so even though you have 15% cost increase, but because of the tariff, so shipping from Thailand to US still is very attractive, still very attractive. So with all the different combination, then you see that in the PCB world and plus related industry, everybody is thinking if we are going out of China, either because of the tension, or because of the tariff, or because of the end customer need, where do we go? The easy choice actually is go here. Okay. Japan, South Korea, Taiwan will continue to produce some of the relatively high-end, high-value product. But a lot of the new capacity, new investment is all coming here. And that is where the Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand really stand out. Okay, and I try to compare the Southeast Asia of today compared to the China 20 or 25 years ago. And of course they are different. And China is dramatically different from Southeast Asia. However, I think the major difference is back then that was supply side driven. The manufacturer, they want to find a location with a lower cost. And China has a lot of labor, and labor is cheap. So they go there, and also with a potential market. Today, they come into Thailand is because the customer wants you to do. The customer wants all the shop. They say, hey, I want a certain percentage of the PCB produced outside China. You find a place to go. So a lot of people looking around, and then they, with a collective thought and decision, many of them, they come into Thailand. So this is from the demand side push. 20 years ago was the supply side. But either demand side or supply side doesn't matter. They are coming over here that provide Thailand with a historical opportunity. Never happened before. I'm not sure will happen again. But this is the chance actually allow you to establish electronic manufacturing. For many years in Thailand, my understanding, you only have a hard disk drive assembly. Seagate, Western Digital here. And a little bit of packaging assembly. What else? Maybe Delta. Right? And then what else you can do? And here, actually, a lot of end customers say, we want, the supply chain to move to somewhere else. And Thailand become, very attractive choice. And then you need to grab this opportunity. Now, we are comparing, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Of course, they already have some existing PCB shop. There's also a lot of a new investment. But if you're just looking at this, actually, I think there are more PCB related, decided to invest in Thailand. Here, we got a couple, and I was just visit them, last Monday. And AT&S is mostly substrate, okay? And also, you got a Simtech here is also making the substrate. In here, Malaysia, I think is a lot of, US focus and semiconductor related. In Vietnam, here is mostly Korean company. Okay, then also there's some Apple supply chain and the Samsung supply chain. Here, application side is much more focusing on automotive and the server side. This part is more semiconductor. This part is more consumer product. So if you're thinking about this, you say, we want to choose a high growth application. We want to choose, for the next few years, what is really the new direction of the industry. And no doubt, it's coming from the AI, it's coming from automotive. And this guy, either lucky or by their, deep thought, they're all coming here. And that's exactly the reason I say this is a historical opportunity what, that Thailand has. And if you're looking at the top 25 company and where are they located, a lot of them actually Thailand. Some of them go to Vietnam, some of them go to Malaysia. As I said, Malaysia actually, a lot of is semiconductor related. Okay, you got the Ibadan there, you got AT&S there, you got the Kinsus there, and in Vietnam, a lot of Korean company. And here, you got a lot of, Taiwanese and Chinese company. And actually, if you're looking at, the whole electronic industry, or especially in the PCB industry, today, the Taiwanese company and the Chinese company combined together, they account for more than 60% of the global production. They are the largest group. Okay, and they have the best operation. Most of the high profitable, most of the high advanced product actually is coming from this group. So this is actually a very important opportunity. So let's talk about why Thailand, why PCB? Why do they come into Thailand? Why all of the PCB shop, the laminate supplier, the drill and bit, and also accessory company, why do they come into Thailand? And we discussed so many different reasons. By considering about the, the manpower, the electricity, water, land, customer demand, and also, because the existing production base, plus people in Thailand are friendly. People, see the government here are supportive. And why the PCB? Because I think this is a product actually allow the Thailand to penetrate and grow and expand the electronic industry quicker and easier. So, there are a few interesting characteristics of the PCB. This is Asian business. Most of the PCB produced in Asia. Not in the US, not in Europe. And this industry create more jobs. This is especially important for developing countries. And the median level of capital investment, this is not like semiconductor, is going to require 20 billion, 50 billion, or 200 billion. Here, you can have $50 million, you can start. You can have $1 billion, you can create a big company. And you're creating more jobs. And plus, this is in the medium technology complexity. And this allow you, to learn faster, and also you can grow, deeper in your local community. I think to make this successful, you need not only the government, but also you need the university. You need a local entrepreneur to get together. And also this industry like clustering. So you see that in China, it's a Guangdong area, in Kunshan area, in Taiwan, in Taoyuan area. They all, try to build together, okay? And this is a customized product, but people are getting together, okay? This is the clustering. And that's exactly the great thing is surrounding the Bangkok area. You have so many different industrial parks. And you can put in, 50 PCB companies together just in this area, which is forming, a big cluster. And Thailand, you have a good, competitive position. Okay, I think, there are several things that, is supporting the growth of the PCB industry here. But I also wanted to address, some of the area, that you need to work on. Number one, higher manufacturing costs. Well, we recognize that. Okay, but you need to develop, the upstream industry. Material, accessory, tool, okay, improving automation, and to making, the the manufacturing costs can be more competitive. Electricity costs and supply, this is what I heard from all the, the PCB company, okay, you can make a better judgment. And also, the other very important thing actually is the human resources. Okay, from local and also to grow, the local talent. And with, all the help, with all the investment, I think, from what we see, over $10 billion investment will be in Southeast Asia, over $6 billion investment from the PCB industry will be in Thailand. With that, we are going to see the phase one growth in Thailand, no question. No question. Money is already here, okay? Now, we wanted to take advantage of that to make sure not only have a one phase, we want to have a phase two and phase three. So how are you going to grow the sustainability? And how can you grow this industry? I think, not only we have the money here is more detailed data, okay? This actually just try to tell you that, you needed to spend the effort, especially of today, looking at, some of the multi-layer board and HDI technology, because this fit the final application better. I think this chart, I will have a few messages here, okay? I spent a lot of time, not only just looking at what happened in Thailand, but also we try to learn from other countries. We try to learn from Taiwan, from China, from other countries. Why did they succeed? So if you're looking back, actually, the PCB development, okay, in the, in China over the past 30 years, I think, the initial one, okay, is coming from a lot of the investments from Hong Kong, for example, and from Taiwan, okay? So the first phase is always coming from the multinational company. In China, you got a Japanese company, you got a Hong Kongese, you got a Taiwanese, you got the US, you got Europe. So initially, you are relying on the foreign investment. You are making commodity or high volume product because you make it cheap, then you export, okay, many of the product. That allow you to have a very steep growth. That is the phase one. And I think in Thailand, you're in the early phase one. You rely on the foreign investment, you try to make in the product, and you try to export it. But in China, the growth, actually, this is not the end of it. If you just have phase one here, then after the initial growth, then it will be flat. In China, you enter into the second phase. That is the domestic capital market support. So you have the financial institution, the bank, the government, okay, other people, because PCBs still need a lot of money, okay? And also, a lot of local entrepreneurs, a lot of local people participate. A lot of local technician, engineer, business people, sales, they all participate in this. That gives another boost of the growth. And, plus some of the foreign company that continue investing here, then they upgrade their product from the mainstream to the high tech. And then plus, you have the regional assembly, not only making PCB, but also assemble the PCB. You're creating the demand. So that gives you the second leg of the growth. And then, from 23 to 28, we are going to see additional, coming from the local people. And also the other thing that you learn actually is within China over the past 20-some years, especially after 2010, significant number of the IPO company. PCB industry need money. Every dollar you invest, you create $1 of revenue, roughly. So you invest $10 billion, you create $10 billion industry. Semiconductor, you invest $10 billion, you probably make $200 million for foundry. Okay, so the ratio is dramatically different. But the money, initial coming from the foreign market, initial coming from the foreign company, then gradually change to the local support, then change to the local equity market. This is another very important thing, is if you have so many companies, let's say 50 companies coming over, they grow to 200 million, 300 million. That gives you another force, actually, to work together with your local financial market. So your free money has a place to invest, and your industry can attract this funding to grow the economy further. And that is a history, what you can see in China. So I think there are, growing opportunity in Thailand. And, looking at the application side, looking at the recent wave of the investment, looking at the current geopolitical situation, and you should take advantage of that, okay? And I think, to align, your interests with the global environment and the global, industry, I think that's very, very important, okay? So things can put it together. From the AI, from automotive driving, from a lot of the multinational company bring the capital, technology, and experience here, and with all this support to build the industry, then you can establish your manufacturing industry, and then from there to extend upward and downward. And then you're going to create, the industry, with 500,000 employees. You're going to create an industry which is further can link strongly with your local, financial market. Okay. So there are a couple of important things, to make it successful. What we're talking about is not just the growth in the next 5 years. We talk about is the next 10 years or 15 years. So hopefully Thailand can become the key production site outside China. Some people think, Thailand can be the global number 2. If you're willing to dream, which is possible, or at least to be the top 3 in the world. So if you wanted to be successful, then no doubt you need a government support. This is a very important part, and you can see, the success in China, the success in Taiwan. The government support is always very, very crucial. Human resources, we need to develop this. You wanted to have more local engineer. You want to have a more local technology, research. And you wanted to develop advanced technology from your local society. Capital market, local entrepreneur participation, this is another very important thing. Without that, China will not have, the second growth. The first one, overcome foreign. Second one, mostly come from local. Okay, so you need the local engineering talent, you need the local entrepreneur, you need the government support, and you also need the local capital market together. And once you have all this, then you build an industry which is strong, and then you expand that into the assembly, and you expand that into the upstream and downstream. Okay, then you will have a much stronger electronic and the PCB industry in Thailand. And I hope you're successful. I hope that in the next 5 years, we're going to see a very successful PCB industry in Thailand. Thank you.
A very comprehensive presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Xu Haoxiang, Managing Partner from Prisma Partners, LLC.
We have here today the advisor to Prime Minister, Kun Pichai, and he would like to share some of his idea and comment and some question also.
Hi, still morning, right? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am very proud and honored to be here. I was approached by Kun Swek to study this business. Our government emphasize on the, semiconductor, and when Kun Swek asked me to study on the PCB, I think, wow, this is the way to go, and I think the government will do everything we can. I would assure you, Mr. Chiang, we will do everything we can. I already talked, after we met with Kun Swek twice and we discussed many things, and I study, I go watching clip, I go read a lot of book, and I think Thailand, is this the new flagship for Thailand? PCB will be our future. So definitely we will assure that government will support on this. I can assure you that. So whatever we can do, you can contact Kun Swek for any further information, and we will support you. And maybe, Mr. Chiang, maybe you can help me tailor what we can support. Thailand have excess capacity of electricity. We have like maybe over 10,000 megawatt left that we can produce. But anyway, there's a mixture of the energy. Probably PCB may require more of renewable and like green energy. But we are emphasized toward that too. Anyway, we have a lot of water, definitely. And what we lack maybe a lot of training, manpower, engineering. We may have to probably train more people in support of this industry. Anyway, anything we can do, please let us know. We will fully support. I assure you that I talked to many key persons in the government, and they assure me that this is the way that Thailand will support. Let me go back a little bit on the Thailand economy. We're not doing so well. In the last 10 years, we only have like 1.9% growth. We need a new flagship. We need a new business. We need a new S-curve, and I think PCB is our new S-curve. I can assure you that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
If you have anyone who have some question for Dr. Chiang.
Are there any questions from the floor? Okay, so if there is no questions, so may I invite Kun Pichai and Kun Swek and Dr. Chiang to take group photo session. Thank you very much, Dr. Shu Kao-Chiang, and all the distinguished guests of this session. May I inform you that Thailand Electronic Circuit Asia 2024 will resume, and please be invited to join THECA exhibition and conference at the main stage of Exhibition Hall 101 on the first floor. And now it's time for lunch, so please enjoy your lunch and have a nice day. Thank you very much.